Great. Professor McGregor will
Yeah,
introduce you to speak. Okay.
yeah. Hi, Professor Lin.
Great. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful group of folks who are gathered
Uh-huh.
conversation, and we all want to hear your comments in 1 second. Hold on. Let me introduce.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, okay.
Good. Well, good morning, friends. Welcome uh, to this wonderful event. I'm happy to meet new friends and make new acquaintances. This is a wonderful, happy day for all of us, especially for our today's heroes, the editors, translators of this wonderful, monumental work of translation and commentary, Maimonides' Guide. But my job here simply is to welcome the happy comments, to echo them, and to introduce very quickly Dr. Chafik Graiguer. Chafik, as Len mentioned, right, his dissertation on the ethical autonomy in classical Islam at Hassan Thani University in Casablanca. Chafik is currently assistant professor of philosophy at University Moulay Ismail in Meknes in Morocco. Shafik's work is impressive, spans several sub areas: philosophy of religion, ethics and moral theology, Quranic studies, the relationship of science and faith, critical thinking in education and pedagogy. So yes, building for the future, we might say, right, with this serious, deep, long-term commitment to pedagogy, which in Shafiq's case is centered around philosophy. So I think we can all get behind those values. So Chafik has been on the government oversight committees in Morocco for a long time, looking at teaching of philosophy in lycées and colleges
Yeah.
throughout the country. So yes, hats off to many years of building the study of philosophy in Morocco. Um, as Len mentioned, Shafiq was with us here in Nashville um, for sort of 6 months, right? On a Fulbright, right? And made a number of wonderful connections here in the philosophy department, over with us in Islamic studies, and other places across campus. So I think we all wish that Shafiq would come back soon to Nashville. Okay, and last point, we're here to celebrate our accomplishment, but Len and Phil's tremendous accomplishment. But as Ari was saying, what's next? Well, let's think of this perhaps as a stepping stone to the work that is now opening up for all of us to think about and to imagine. And we're hoping that Shafiq will commit to doing Arabic translation and edition at some point, somehow on his side. So, like I say, stepping stones for the future work that we will all build on as a community in the study of philosophy. So I will turn it over now to Chafik Graiguer, and we'll hear his comments on the relevance of an English translation of Maimonides' Guide to the Arabic Reader. Chafik, you're
Hey,
up.
okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Professor Richard McGregor, for this kind introduction. Okay, I am sharing my screen, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I truly wish I could have traveled to Nashville to be with you in person today, but it turned out that modern day life is so complicated. So crossing the Atlantic Ocean is not as easy as it was for Maimonides in 12th century when he crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from Spain to Fez. But fortunately, and thanks to معيش برشات, I am able to join you at least virtually through Zoom. I mean, thanks to the science of physics and this wonderful technology of internet. Before getting to the topic of my presentation, I should say that I am also delighted to meet a second scholar whose I use some of his works in my PhD dissertation and later in my recent book, The Unhappy Moral Conscience in Islam. So the first scholar is, of course, Professor Lynn Goodman with his Islamic humanism and his excellent paper on the Epicurean ethics of Abu Bakr Muhammad bin Zakaria Razi. The second scholar is Professor Menachem Kellner with his paper Monotheism as a Continuing Ethical Challenge to Jews. I interacted and I engaged with his paper in my PhD dissertation. And it is true that monotheism in Islam does not present the same ethical challenges that it does in Judaism, since Allah is not the Lord of one particular people, but the Lord of all worlds, Al-Alamin. Yet I found that Muslim thinkers nonetheless failed to translate this divine universalism into a moral universalism. So except for the Mu'tazilite, Muslim thinker did not fully acknowledge the validity of moral intuitions of a human being, regardless of their religious affiliation. So thank you, Professor Menachem Kellner, for this beautiful paper. Now, back to Maimonides and his guide. So the question I am asking, would an Arabic reader prefer to read the guide in English? As an Arabic reader, I find myself in the same situation as Nietzsche, who once observed of Schopenhauer that his principal work has already been translated twice into French. And the second time so excellently that now I prefer, said Nietzsche, I prefer to read Schopenhauer in French. Would an Arabic reader prefer to read the guide in its English translation? So, of course, it is always better to read a text in its original language. Yet, my claim is that this Arabic reader will greatly benefit from having access to the scholarly apparatus of Goodman-Lieberman edition. And this apparatus needs to be translated into Arabic, a task which I am actively seeking to carry out. I hope very soon. Okay. So why it is so? To answer this question, I have first to give you a brief overview of the current Arabic edition of the guide. Here you see the title page of this Arabic edition. It was edited by Hussein Atay from Ankara University in 1972 with an introduction in Turkish. This is the only available Arabic edition Arabic readers are having so far. And this edition have been subsequently published facsimile in Cairo in 1996, then in 2008, then in Baghdad in 2011 and 2021. So it is a much needed edition. in this Arabic edition, Hussein Attai uses four sources. First, Monk's edition, and also Tel Aviv 1929's edition. He also used an Arabic manuscript dated in 15th century. The writer of this scribe of this manuscript has written the guide in Arabic alphabet, but he could not translate the Hebrew passage, so he just transliterates them in Arabic alphabet. Hussein Attai also used some variant readings from Wolfson Maimonides, his life and works, a book that has been translated into Arabic early in the 20th century. And beginning from the second part of the guide, Hussein Attai also added at the footnotes Arabic commentary on the 25 premises of the guide by Muhammad bin Muhammad Tabrizi. This Arabic edition has been carried out in Penes' footsteps. Hussein Attai said in the introduction that he met with Shlomo Penes personally, and this is also apparent from the introduction. So according to Hussein Attai, the guide comprises two main themes that run across the three parts of the book. The first theme is about opinions, what ought to be believed, and the second one is about actions or commands, what ought to be done. So here is a typical page from Hussein Attai edition, showing, you see here highlighted in green, the footnotes. So showing variant readings from different manuscripts. So it seems that Hussein Attai sought to establish a text as faithfully as possible, but unfortunately without the necessary explanatory footnotes. So the footnotes are sober as that of Penes' edition. So just two words about the spirit of this Arabic edition. So Hussein Attai, in his introductions, said that, I quote, "Our knowledge of the cultural and historical context of Judaism and of other faith traditions remain insufficient." So here Attai regrets that we don't have enough knowledge of the culture and the history of Judaism, as well as other religious traditions. So Goodman, Lieberman's recent editions, I think, fill brilliantly this gap. Just an example, for example, Attai states that the addressee of the guide is Joseph bin Yehuda bin Aknin, instead of Joseph bin Yehuda bin Isaac bin Shimon, for example. So this needs to be corrected in the next Arabic edition. Hussein Attai also explain here why it is relevant to edit the guide to the perplexed. So for Attai, Maimonides defended Judaism using the resources of Islamic philosophy, much as we Muslims today defend Islam using the resources of Western philosophy. So it is like the guide reached the Arabic reader as a testimony that one need not to shy away from Western philosophy in defending Islam, but rather embrace it as a means of achieving equilibrium between reason and faith, as did Maimonides. By the way, Maimonides was nicknamed the Jewish philosopher of Islam by Abd al-Razak in the early, I think in 1920. So why this Arabic edition needs to be augmented? Of course, Hussein Attai did a great job in providing the Arabic reader with a text, the only text, as I said, to this day, in Arabic alphabet. But I think that both the guide and the Arabic reader need a better Arabic edition of the guide. So the guide, as I understand it, is a guide to the perplexed, not just a guide for the scholar. So it is very important to take into account. So the perplexity of the questions at hand, the question of cosmology and metaphysics. So the perplexity of the question at hand ought not to be doubled by a perplexing reading experience of the guide itself. Here are two quotes from Goodman-Lieberman introduction, showing why the reading the guide is a perplexing experience. I quote, problems addressed in the guide are often left unstated and hailed by an elusive phrases or reference rather than overtly messaged. A second quote, Maimonides expected a serious reader to study his guide to the perplexed thoughtfully, to read it more than once, and to compare one chapter against another. We, Goodman and Libera said, we have sought to help by including numerous cross-references in our commentary, along with philosophical exposition of his point and citation of relevant texts. So these are two dimensions of the perplexity of the guide to the perplexed. So I think the guide is a kind of hypertext. You know, we are today familiar with web page as hypertext, where you find some underlined words or sentences you have to click on, and those links take you to other page, etc. So I see the guides as a hypertext. So many links need to be inserted, like cross references, corresponding quotes from other texts, either philosophical, theological, religious, or scholarly texts. And this is exactly where Goodman-Lieberman translation matter. Now, why the Goodman-Lieberman edition deserve an Arabic voice? Why it deserves to be translated in Arabic? When I say translated, of course, I mean only the scholarly apparatus, not the text itself, because we already have the text in Arabic. Now, yeah. So the first valuable addition in Goodman-Lieberman edition is the introduction. And I published a book review of this edition devoted to this introduction in Arabic. in the Journal of Philosophical Studies in December 2024. And this journal is edited jointly by Brill and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed University. And especially the 4 sections in this introduction: the objects of the guide, Maimonides' words, the story of the guide, and translation, reception, and commentary. I think that the Arabic reader will appreciate this introduction if it has been added to the Arabic edition we currently have. The second reason why Goodman-Lieberman edition matters is the explanatory footnote. And just to give you an example here, for example, just take a look at this paragraph from the guide when Maimonides says, the first aim of this work is to clarify the meaning of certain terms in scripture. Some of these have multiple senses, but the ignorant take them only in certain of those senses. Although some are figurative, they take them only in the sense underlying the figure. Others are ambiguous, to be taken now at face value, now metaphorically. So here Maimonides uses 4 key terms in Arabic: mushtaraka, musta'ara, mushakkika, and mutawati'a. And these 4 terms need to be amply explained in the footnote, even if for the Arabic reader. Why? Because almost the next 70 chapters in the guide are devoted to the, what I would say, to the good usage of names, which imply that doing metaphysics in the context of a revealed religion turns out to be like theorizing about semantics, how we can use a human language to describe the divine. And you know, the Mu'tazilites came up with their theory of majaz, metaphor. So without explaining these four terms, how could the reader fully understand the 70 next chapters, which are like a dictionary, where different meanings of key words are reviewed by Maimonides and assessed, like the word man, woman, face, word, the verb to descend, God's attributes, which are mostly names. So, and even in Pennis Strauss edition in 1963, these four terms are not, unfortunately, are not explained. But Goodman and Lieberman aptly and brilliantly explained these 4 terms for the reader. Of course, Goodman-Lieberman edition is full of references to Jewish texts. And as Hussein Attai regretted that in the Arab and Muslim words, unfortunately, we don't have enough knowledge about Jewish culture, history, and religion, so as to fully understand what is at stake in the guide for Maimonides. Now, I invite you to take a look at Maimonides in 3 renderings. The first is the original Arabic. The second is in Pinès translation. the third is in Goodman and Lieberman's translation, and the fourth is my own Arabic translation of Goodman-Lieberman translation. So you see, in the original Arabic, Maimonides just uses two lines. Penis translates them in five lines, wordy and verbose. Goodman and Lieberman brilliantly translate them in just two lines. And I should confess that Maimonides' Arabic is far from standard classical Arabic. It is often tortuous and wordy, much like my English when I first arrived at Vanderbilt and handed Professor Goodman, my PhD advisor, the first few pages of my dissertation. So I remember the first thing he said to me that my English is wordy. So the same apply to Maimonides. But Goodman and Lieberman brilliantly first they swapped the clauses of the sentence. So what was the first clause in green becomes the second clause in Lieberman and Goodman-Lieberman translation, and vice versa. And in fact, in Maimonides' original Arabic, there is only one sentence with two clauses. The first is okay. There is only one independent, I mean main clause preceded by a dependent or subordinate clause. So it should read like as Goodman and Lieberman translates it, much like the belief that the creator is a body, the belief that God has attributes is prompted not by reason, but by hewing to the surface sense of scripture. Yes, I think this was the just translation, no more and no less. A second example from Goodman and Lieberman translation. So in this passage where Maimonides uses the word that, referring to God, that. Penis translates as essence, but Goodman and Lieberman rightly translated as himself, simply. Yes, and it is true because in Arabic, that means itself or himself, depending on the context. So yes, it is right that as Goodman and Lieberman explains in note number 276, it is misleading to translate that who here by his essence. For God, as Maimonides aims to make clear, has no essence. So it is better to translate it as himself and not as essence. Because if it was so, Maimonides would have used ماهية in Arabic, ماهية, rather than that. So to sum things up, as a conclusion, why Goodman-Lieberman edition deserves an Arabic voice, I need first because it offers us a guidance through annotation. So true to its title, guide, the edition offers guidance by means of careful annotation, contextual framing, and cross-references. And also for its illumination of Jewish sources. This edition elaborates on the Jewish sources and intertexts that underpin the guide. Third, because it offers us the Islamicate framing. So it situates the guide firmly within its Islamicate context, reminding us that it is itself an Islamicate text. Fourth, revitalized faith-reason dialogue. And this was stressed by Goldman and Lieberman in the introduction. So this edition reanimates the guide as a dynamic dialogue between faith and reason. A dialogue still perplexing, yet profoundly relevant for today's Muslim. So the guide will be more than welcomed in a new edition, because it will revitalize this dialogue between faith and reason. Fifth, because this edition aptly and beautifully makes the move from study to reading. Goldman and Lieberman insist that the guide is not only to be studied as a scholarly artifact, but also to be read as a living text. While Hussein Attai edition, much like as Penis Strauss edition, is an edition for scholars, not for average reader. So that was my view on the relevance of Goldman-Lieberman translation to an Arabic reader. And of course, I leave it up to you, English readers, to assess the merit of this edition against that of Penis Strauss. So that's all, and thank you.
Chafik, are you still connected? Are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. Do you have a minute or two? Questions? Oh.
The audio is noisy.
It's there we go.
Yeah, good now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chafik. So we will spend the next few minutes reflecting on your comments. We'll open the floor to questions, comments from the folks gathered here in Alumni Hall. So yeah, any response, any comments?
Yeah.
Sats wants to be recognized.
Yeah, hi.
Oh.
You mentioned, Maimonides' uses of the Islamic sources, heavy use. Was there a reaction to Maimonides in the Islamic world, or after Al-Farabi there wasn't much going on? I mean, was there something that have comments on it, the way, Aquinas commented on Maimonides? So,
Professor Schatz?
oh yeah, I don't know if you heard. Were you able to hear? Can you hear me?
Yes, Chafik, did you hear Professor Schatz's question?
Oh yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, I wanted to know. You mentioned that Maimonides used Islamic sources heavily. Obviously, was there a reaction to the God of the Perplexed in the Islamic world, or after Al-Farabi there wasn't to be expected? Is there anything analogous even to Aquinas' occasional comments about Maimonides?
Professor Schatz, can you mute yourself, please? Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. I'm
Actually,
sorry, you said I should mute myself?
yes, please. Mute
Yeah,
yourself.
sure. Sure. I don't think any noise is coming from here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Chafik, did you hear the question about the reception?
Yeah, I did not get the point. To my understanding, Professor Schatz was asking, is there was there any engagement with the guide
Yeah,
to the perplexed in Arabic?
right, right, right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yes, yeah. To my knowledge, unfortunately, there was not much engagement with the guide to the perplexed among Muslim philosopher or theologians. I think this was mainly because it is like the guide went under the radar, being written in Hebrew alphabet. Yes, we do have this Arabic manuscript transliterating the guide into Arabic alphabet, but this is the only manuscript. So that's why I hope that this new edition, if it will be translated into Arabic, it will offer the Arabic readership a readable text to engage with, especially with regard to the issue of faith, reason, dialogue, which we are still for us, it is still a challenging dialogue, since Averroes wrote about it in his the decisive treatise, Fasl al-Maqal. So we are still struggling with this dialogue, as it was for Maimonides.
So Len will have a comment on that discussion, please.
I'll just add one remark about the reception of the guide in the Islamic world. We don't know all that much about it, but in 1970, when I traveled to Canberra for the International Congress of Orientalists, I was privileged to meet a scholar from Tehran whose name is Muhakkik. And Muhakkik was very proud of the fact that there is a Persian reception of the guide. The 25 propositions, I believe Chafik mentioned, in which the Rambam analyzes the position of the Islamic philosopher, the followers of Aristotle and Avicenna, reduces them to 25 propositions, in which he adds a 26th, which is the doctrine of the eternal world. And they make it Maimonides argues that their position is coherent. He refuses to accept that additional postulate of the eternity of the world. But if that were granted, he thinks that they have a valid proof of the existence of God. This, as our speaker mentioned, was commented on by Tabrizi in Iran. And Muhakkik was very proud to tell me that in 20th century Iran, that discussion was produced in Arabic, because not everybody in Iran was able to read Farsi in those days. Not everybody in the rest of the Muslim world was able to read Arabic. And it is indicative to me that this work was taken seriously for the reasons that Chafik mentioned, that it had Islamic roots from Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali, and others, and dealt with problems of universal concern to any scriptural monotheist who wants to make sense of the relationship between faith and reason, as our speaker brought out. That to me is evidence of the abiding interest in the topic and the problematic and the argumentation of the Guide to the Perplexed. And I think it's one good reason why Chafik is right to be pursuing a 21st century Arabic translation of the text of our commentary and new edition of the existing Arabic text.
So further on the reception, Chafik, you mentioned your book review. So there's some reception contemporary. Any thoughts to share on the contemporary reception? You're at the heart of it.
Yes. So I think earliest receptions was indirect through the book of Wolfson on Maimonides, his life and works, early in the 20th century. So the modern Islamic world had to know Maimonides through Harry Wolfson book, which contained passage from the Guide to the Perplexed. And this book was translated early in the 20th century into Arabic. And we have also this Arabic edition by Hussein Attai in 1973. So it is an evidence that Maimonides Guide is relevant to the Islamic world. There is some scholarly books, mostly in Arabic, written in Arabic in the last few decades about Maimonides and his guide. Yes, there is now much interest in Maimonides, but the master text, which is the guide, has to be re-edited in a new edition, because the current edition is awfully outdated and does not help much to let the guide reach a wide readership, unfortunately. Yeah.
Sure. Well, we'll hope there's the next chapter. Please. Yeah.
Book by Wolfson, Harry Wolfson, by one of these life and works, but W say, I'm sorry.
Wolfson, Harry Wolf.
Sorry, I just want to ask, reference was the first book by Harry Wolfson called Maimonides' Life and Works. To the best of my recollection, he never wrote a book of Maimonides. It's like a famous. Am I getting something wrong? Is there such a work? I don't think so. Not that I know of. No, Wolfson never wrote
Because Wolfson's Maimonides is behind every footnote that Wolfson wrote.
Yeah, exactly. There was no.
That was the unwritten book.
Yes, it's the unwritten book. So I don't know what was he referring to. Is the same Wolfson?
Chafik, what's the Wolfson book you put up? Can you put up the title?
Yeah. It is. Well, I am translating the Arabic title. I don't know if the Arabic translator changed the original title, but in Arabic it was Maimonides Ibn Maymun Hayatuhu wa A'maluh, which means in English Maimonides his life and works.
So
what was the original? Yeah, sorry.
Who is the author of that? Or was that a translation?
Wolfson.
Was it? So it's an Arabic translation.
Yeah.
of the
Of,
Wolfson book. So
yeah.
but the question is, what is the title
In English or in Arabic?
in English? Yeah, so that's not the, yeah. Okay, right. Yeah, so it's been translated into Arabic and changed, right? No, yes. Unaccounted bibliography. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
What was the original title of Wolfson's book? I'm curious.
Right. It's not.
Huh?
We have to recover it.
Yeah. But in Arabic is was translated like Maimonides, his life and works.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that had that one you found, but yeah.
Yeah. No, you start translating titles, right? And books get lost. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Okay, cool. Great. Any other
I'll make one more remark. In the most famous Hebrew translation of the guide, which is that of Ibn Tibbon, Ibn Tibbon, although Maimonides criticized him for being too literal, which I think was a sound criticism, he did one brilliant thing in translating the Arabic title. The Arabic title, as you could see a moment ago on the screen, was Dilat al-Harin, the guide.
You can see you can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, the guide to the perplexed, but Ibn Tibbon picked up on an important theme in the guide and conveyed that theme in the title he gave his translation. He used a word which occurs in the Hebrew Bible only twice to describe the consternation that the Israelites felt at the Red Sea when they were caught between Pharaoh's chariots and the sea itself, and the consternation that the Jews of Iran felt when the Shah had pronounced a death sentence on all of them. The word for consternation there was the word, the Hebrew word nivuchim. They were all caught between a rock and a hard place, if you think of the imagery of the moment at the Dead Sea. And that word nivuchim was the relatively rare Hebrew word that Ibn Tibbon chose for his Hebrew translation of the guide. He was referring to the fact that people who had exposure to Greek and Islamic science and philosophy felt themselves caught in a dilemma between what they considered to be the rational world and their commitment to the faith and practices that they had been raised in. And so he used that word nivuchim in his title to convey that sense of consternation and being trapped between reason and religion and needing help, which Maimonides was to provide them in that book. That tells you something about the point that Chafik was making about the contemporary relevance of that book and others of its genre, where people make an effort to make rational sense out of religious commitments. And that was the purpose of the guide. And that's why the guide is of universal significance, not at all least in countries with Islamic heritage, where we have science and people like Dawkins saying that evolution is what makes atheism respectable and so forth. And you can see in the Guide to the Perplexed addressing those questions, logic and science and rationality on the one side, religion, tradition, religious faith and practice, religious experience on the other side. And the guide addresses that very modern and very universal problem. And that's one reason why I think Chafik is right, that an Arabic translation of the guide, and well, the guide was written in Arabic, but as he said, of the apparatus, the commentary, the annotation, the Islamic background, which provided that scientific and philosophical critique of a traditional religion, That's why that work will be very relevant in today's Islamicate world.
Great, thank you, Len. Any other comments? Okay, well, good. So we are not caught between a rock and a hard place. We are just going up the levels, the stages, onto these are stepping stones. So thank you very much, Chafik, for this wonderful foothold. And we're going to move on to our next discussion. Thanks again, Chafik.
Thank you. Thank you. And, hi.